Hello, this is Tytti Vanhala, an Associate Trainer for Art2Ride. And here you see a session from Malin and Poly on 26th of August, so just a day ago since I'm speaking this voiceover. So we've had really hard ground on the school lately, and most of the summer as well, because it has been so unusually dry and hot here in Sweden. But as you can see now, we've had a lot of rain. You can see some puddles still on the school after we drained it a little bit, and DJ's driven around with the tractor to make it flat again. But yeah, so the school was now a lot softer, and even just a tiny bit slidey it felt from on the top, but it was a lot better surface, and hence we suggested to Malin that let's have some poles, let's have some pole work from Poly, and because the surface was so much better, I thought that this would be a great opportunity to do a little bit of a different thing and a bit more varied exercise for a change. So here we're starting, and Malin is lunging, and we are bringing out the poles. I actually thought at first that we were just gonna have 2 poles because Malin's gonna ride, and we haven't done very much ridden poles, trot poles at all. In fact, I think I've done, well, maybe a couple times maximum, and especially race poles we haven't. I think I've done once ridden with him, and I thought, yeah, so I thought well, we'll just start with 2, but DJ thought, oh, we'll have a bit more, so we ended up with 4 in fact, so it became quite an advanced session for Poly, and you will see how he copes with it soon. But here we are bringing in the poles and the how do you call those, the sugar cubes for lifting the poles into at first half raising and then raising them to a cavaletti. And so after a bit of walking, Malin asks for trot, and actually it's Malin who has the tag for the solo shot camera. So the camera is following her and not Poly. So that's why you don't see Poly every now and then, because the tag is concentrating on Malin. When we have side reins on, we attach the tag on Poly. But now that he doesn't have a side reins or the surcingle on, then the lunger have to have it, because, well, we haven't figured out a way of fastening it on Poly's bridle yet, so without disturbing him in the process. But anyway, it's looking pretty good. Poly is stretching really a lot here. The side rein work is really excellent for him, but sometimes it's good to just give him a day off or a session off from them, so that he can just stretch his neck and all his top line to the full if he wants to. And then you can see he's really kinking his head a little bit forward as well, to have a really good proper stretch there to the whole top line. And actually it's just started raining, that's why you can see a bit of shadows on the on the solo shot, because the solo shot can't take water. It's not waterproof, so DJ's putting a little bit of a cover over it. Actually, I think in the end it ended up his hat, but then it started raining too much, and DJ took it all away for a while until the shower went away. And so we have a bit of a break in the solo shot filming. So here Malin is just she's just warming up for the poles and also for the riding later on. So just take up a little bit of a canter there. It looks pretty good. Pretty good for a warm-up canter. And you can see that he's really fancying to stretch himself and feeling maybe a little bit stiff in the beginning here. So here I think she's starting to come close to the poles. I think she will gradually move towards them soon. So this is the first voiceover I do over Malin's work. Malin's been a really good help for us, taking care of Poly when we're away elsewhere, and we really trust her with Poly totally, and she's really taken into the training the way we want. So that's really great. A good friend for us. So here she's brought Poly closer to the poles so she can aim at them. There we are. Even the first go was actually very good. Notice that he lifted a little bit of his head, but that's okay. And there you can see him really snaking his neck. I think he just feels the need to really stretch it a little bit extra. And that was a nice go where he actually lowered his head as he was going over the poles. So at the moment these poles are on the ground, and then I lift them up after a while here. Well, very soon. This was the last time he went over the poles, and unfortunately our solo shot filming ends here for a little bit because of the rain. And this is DJ filming with his mobile from the sideline, so you missed missed going over the cavalettis on the left side. So Malin started on the left side, which is for Poly is more difficult side. So he's always slightly stiffer on that side. That rein, and here the right rein is a lot easier for him. As you can see, he's a little bit more level and he's bending nicely on the circle. So this is she's just changed rein and just giving Poly a little bit of flat work before the poles. The same thing, a bit of walk, a bit of trot, and then a little bit of canter as well. And it is still raining, even though the sun is shining. You can see some of the rain on the from the video here as well. But luckily the shower just went past relatively soon, so that was great. We didn't get all drenched at all, so that's good. So here she just missed that one, but she's gonna come up close now and go over these poles. So these are again ground poles, as you can see, for the first go, and that was really good. That was excellent going over from Poly. So he kept his activity and work over his back, and did it in a nice stretch as well. It was very good. And I'm already raising one of the poles because I thought that was just excellent. So he's coming over one more time before I lift them higher. So that wasn't as optimal, but it's going really well. So you see me lifting them. And Malin is giving a little bit of a break for Poly and give him a treat. And here we are again. I've lifted the two middle ones into a cavaletti. and the first and the last one are half raised. And as you can see, he doesn't have any problems with that at all. It was the same on the left side. He may have had a little bit more difficulty, but not much on the left. So that's been really good work. And even when he has gotten the stride a little bit suboptimal into the poles, he's able to correct himself, take a little bit of a smaller step, or stretch his step a little bit more over. Like there, he got a little bit wrong, but and he stiffened a little bit over his top line, but he still managed to get over the poles in an okay order. That was really good. That was good work. So that was the end of the pole work session on the lunge, and I put the poles down, ready for the riding. And here we have tacked up Poly, and Malin has just got on, and this is her first round in walk around the school. So he's just she's just warming him up in walk and trot before she starts to go over the poles. So here Poly is his head is a little bit too high, and the nose is poking out a little bit. So that's a bit suboptimal, but that's okay. We don't expect perfection all the time or immediately either. It's and there he's already going better. You see, he's a little bit lower with his nose, maybe just below the chest height, and that's pretty optimal for him on the left rein. That's really good. He's a little bit wanting to snatch the reins there. You could see the motion he was doing with his nose. Well, that's pretty good work. So every time he's coming a little bit too much forward with his nose, it just means that he's losing his core just a tad. And if you just ask at that moment, like there, he's a little bit ambling. That's okay, because Malin is coming now to the quarter line and starting to do a bit of a leg yield, which should help in the matter. So it helps Poly to engage the core a little bit better, and that helps him to come down. Like there, you can see now his head. That's exactly what he needs at that moment when he's losing the core. He just needs to be reminded, like, okay, just pick up your core again, and use your body a little bit better, and then the head comes more into vertical and just tiny bit lower, and that just means that he's working optimally. Like there, that's really good. So you can see what a good leg yield does to him. It really makes him work a little bit better. So here I think Malin is just practicing for a bit of a stop, so she just stopped, so it wasn't Poly who was stopping. And then we continue. We don't do too much stopping in the middle of the sessions usually, but it was okay to sometimes practice that. Just wants to figure out if your horse is listening to you at times, so that's okay. Just not too many stops and goes, which Malin is not really doing at all here. It's just as a nice. And earlier on you could see how Poly wanted to snatch the reins there as well. That's a little bit of his old habit that we have gotten mostly rid of with the side rein work, but it sometimes flares up as well. It could be that he's he's a little bit feeling stiff and so on, so he wants to snatch and go down instead of working. harder, as we are asking him to work here in the working frame, and it will be a lot more energy sapping and more harder work for him. So here his nose is just a little bit too high still, so that leg yield didn't quite do the job yet, but that's okay enough, and Malin is working on it. So that like there he started to come in a better position with the head, meaning that his core is working a little bit better. And there's me trying to avoid collision. I'm just going to the back of the school to do a little bit of more draining work. There's a big puddle at the back that I wanted to drain. And DJ's there with the dogs on the sidelines. So it's great to have this solo shot that we don't have to think about the filming, and it does it by itself altogether. So here's another leg yield. It could be a little bit straighter, but he's still yielding, so that's good. That was very good. That was a long yield as well, and it did help with the engagement of the core a little bit better. So we haven't done very much at a trot at all when it's been hard ground. I've done it just a little bit lately, but not much. As you can see, and I could notice immediately yesterday, or in this film, that his stride length is a lot bigger than the last time I trotted, when it was the ground was a lot harder and a lot totally dry. But the stride length has immediately improved when the surface is better for him. So that's really good to see. We know that, but sometimes you wonder, like, oh, if is there something else wrong? Or of course you start thinking that and doubting yourself as well sometimes. But there you could see the stride length is really nice now. It's almost back to normal. And here we go, first time over the poles. That was pretty good. He needed to reach a little bit to get over them, but it went pretty nice. It was nice to see that after the first trot, when it wasn't going quite nice, Malin came to walk for a little bit and re-established a trot before she went over the pole. So that was a very good instinct from Malin. So that was well done. And as you can see, he's starting to stabilize with his head and get a better working frame trot here when he's working over the poles. So that's great. He's looking occasionally up because DJ is probably coming up there from taking the dogs. So that's great. That was really good work from Pöly and Malin. And Pöly is just sometimes slowing down, anticipating a stop there by the gate. That's why he's kind of slowing down, thinking like, oh, are we going to stop now? Or can I have a treat, perhaps? So you're wondering. So now she's just giving a little bit of a walk before she does it on the left hand. And I'm just observing things from the sidelines there as well. But it was great. The rain had stopped and the sun was shining again, so that was good weather. And here you can see that Pöly is a little bit stiff on this rein still. He was staying a little bit straight with his body on the turns. But that's a perfect working trot there for Pöly. That's the perfect and you can see that it's a little bit difficult for him in the turns, but he's managing to maintain the same frame there this time, and he is the first goings over, and that was really good work for the first trotting poles on this hand. That's really nice. Really good work. What can I say? And that's also really good. So he's gonna have a little bit of a breather. And a treat. While I go up, I go and put the poles half up on one side. So that's why Pöly is sometimes slowing down and anticipating a stop and possibly a treat. So you can see him every now and then kind of asking Malin like, aren't we gonna stop? Are you gonna not give me a treat? So he's a quick learner with these things, and he's questioning sometimes of what you're asking him to do, because he might be anticipating or expecting something else. That's just typical Pöly, yeah. I see there that Malin had to also felt like she had to also adjust the saddle a little bit. I've had the same feeling when I've been riding, that the saddle is ever so slightly sliding on one side when I ride. So there might be some issues with flocking coming up soon. And here we go, half raised poles. And again, no problem. No problem at all. So as I've been saying earlier when posting some of the still pictures from this session, is that it was just so easy for him today. Granted, he had some problems, and it's it's never perfect. There's always something you can improve on. But for this such good amount of work, so much harder work than he's done before. I mean, he's never done so many raised poles when he's been ridden, so yeah, that's excellent. There was like no hesitation. He just gave everything he had. He was very willing to work. So here's the two middle ones are cavaletti, so they're totally up now, and he just went over like nothing. He touched one or two times the pole so that it rolled a little bit, but he never, I don't think he tripped at all, so, but he did touch a couple of times of them. But then he picked his legs far better after some mistake he may have done, some small mistake. So that's really great to see that he can, if he does some mistake, it's okay, and he can correct himself pretty easily. So he's not going to stumble badly and fall over, but he can adjust his stride length and make the poles anyway, as you will see at some point. Here on the left rein, he made a bigger mistake. I think it was the second time he went over, so he rolled on the first pole with his right front leg and landed too close to the first pole, and then he had to really extend his left front leg to go over the next pole. So it was an extreme stretch with his leg, and but he made it look very easy, actually, that correction. He could have done another correction that's taken a half step after, but he decided that he can stretch over, and it was very well done from Malin, who would just instinctively let him have the rein that he needed to be able to stretch over, and just kept herself in balance over him. So that was really good. And obviously I have to still say that Poly has been worked well over 3 years with Art2Ride foundation training method. So this is, he is pretty fit by now. So don't try this on your first week of Art2Ride work. Just make sure that your horse is fit enough for the pole work before you start doing this. And start easy, like with one pole on the ground, and make sure that they can do all this work before you make it harder. So Malin had a little bit of a walk, relaxing, just a break for Pöly before she started with this rein with the half raised poles. So this first one goes really nice. That's very good. And can you see what happened there straight after the poles? He stabilized and works so much better through his body after the poles. So just engaged his core a little bit better, and that made a massive difference. So here you saw the mistake, that he rolled on the first pole and that he had to really stretch himself extra, and that was just because he came a little bit wrong on the first pole, and just but he adjusted very well. And now you can see how much more he picks. He stiffened a little bit across his top line there, but he really he made sure that he picked his feet up this time, so he did not want to repeat the same mistake there. So that's good. And since we're doing this much of hard work, it's really a good idea to at first to just let him do the job himself, and kind of let him in peace, and don't try to override over the poles and disturb him in his balance, so to say, so that he can. Later on we might start to ride him more and ask a little bit more engagement also across the poles, but for now this is really good. And now we have, as you may have noticed, I raised him to a cavaletti again in the middle, and look what a difference after the poles. It's just that he's getting that little bit more engagement through his body and his core especially. So he's coming more up, and you can see what happens with his head and his neck. So he's a little bit forward with his nose there, but now it comes back into more vertical, and there he finds it a little bit difficult. You can see that slight unevenness coming when he's feeling a little bit too stiff, and it's getting a little bit more difficult for him. So, well, that was good work. That was very good work. So that was the end of our pole work session, and we just asked Malin there if she would like to have a jump, because we thought that the ground was perfect and Pelle was cooperating so well. He felt, Malin said he felt really easy to ride today. He was light and he wasn't objecting to anything at all. So I thought this was the perfect time to do something totally new, because this is the first time he is being jumped from the saddle since we've had him, since we've started Art2Ride with him. So this is the first. And as you can see, it went excellent. It went so well. He never hesitated, he just went for it, and it was great to see. So here you can see we were building just a small jump with the sugar cubes, and we made a small cross pole, one pole in front on the cavaletti size, so that it becomes a jump and not a trot pole, because that's what Pöly would do if it was only a small cross pole. He wouldn't even jump it, he would just step over it, and we wanted him to jump. And we put one guide pole on the side that I am on, and then DJ's on this side with a bit of an extra sugar cube there. So this is the first time we jump him, or Malin jumps him, and that was great. As you can see, it's just a small jump, so you can do it in trot, and Pöly didn't think much of it either. I have to say, next time we jump, we put up the stirrups a bit more and change the knee rolls, so that it's a lot better. There Pöly jumped a little bit earlier than than before, so Malin was a little bit behind there, but it went okay. She's trying not to, she's saying that she's concentrating on not pulling on the mouth and just giving him the reins, as you can see there. And here we have a little bit of a canter as well coming on. I think we raised, if we didn't raise it, we're gonna raise the crossbow into a parallel. I think maybe we have already raised it to parallel with the last one, and that's why he picked the canter afterwards, that is after the jump. Yeah, I think it was a parallel. So here we go again. Just jump a little bit high, and that's also real easy for him. I think next time we could start with something like this, and then make a more of a real jump out of it with real posts and so on, and not sugar cubes. But here we go again, and that's look at that canter now. That's a beautiful canter. Just there for a moment, he was so round. It was really good, slow, round, and everything. But unfortunately, he couldn't keep it, and Malin could feel that he was losing impulsion, and he was losing the momentum there. So this is why she made a quick decision of not pointing him at the jump. So she was directing the Pöly in the end towards me, so past the jump, and just had a bit of a quick stop there. But that was great. That was excellent, excellent work from Malin and Pöly, and fantastic. And here's to more jumping. See you later. Bye.